action. Pow! Right? My ass, you see it in the movie, because he did the literal shot. I jumped over that couch.
Legacy, legacy.
Be funny, you gotta earn your place.
You got a live audience
You
there
got
as
a
well.
live audience. It wasn't no play. Everybody had to hold their own. You know what I mean? He knows my funny.
Ooh.
So he could capture it. And I love being a part of hell-raising shit. That's just
Clearly.
That's just who I am.
A low down, dirty shame.
Legacy, oh, legacy.
Thank you so much for doing this.
If you call, I'm coming. So
Look, people know that A Different World
absolutely
changed my life.
Mm.
I watched it every Thursday with my family. It was a thing. For me, watching it in real time, sitting on the floor in my grandmother's room, and you say your character's name. Would you mind saying what your character's name is?
Lena James.
And my family reacted to that
Wow.
for obvious reason.
Right.
Your character was named for Lena Horne.
Yeah.
I was named for Lena Horne. And in a way, that moment was like God winking at me.
Mm.
I want to know what it was like for your ass.
Because there was a couple, yeah.
Because you auditioned for another episode in
Yeah.
which Tisha Campbell got the role for episode called If I Die Before I Wake.
Right.
But Debbie Allen, and I'd like to say this on record, I think really should take a little bit of responsibility for launching you.
Oh,
Your
absolutely.
career, you
Give
know?
it all to her.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Because she saw you, knew you weren't right for that particular role. And then also she was right about you needing to be in the culture, in the
Yeah.
zeitgeist. As I've been watching your work over these past few weeks, it was necessary for you to exist in the world.
I was super excited. I was ready to play for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Come on.
I was like, I'm here.
Braids and all.
Yeah. There was already this deep camaraderie, you know what I mean? With Kadeem and Jasmine and Cree and the
Yes.
whole cast,
Yeah,
you know? So
they squad.
we're the new blood. So they were kind of like, all right, whatever.
Ooh.
You know what I mean? Not
Yeah.
like in a funky way, but definitely like earn your stripes.
Absolutely.
Earn your stripes.
Earn it.
I remember the first day filming, I was really nervous because I don't consider myself a comedic actress.
Interesting.
So that's what I mean by when I walked in, earn your stripes. Be funny, you gotta earn your place.
You got a live audience
You
there
got
as
a
well.
live audience,
Yeah.
right? And so it wasn't no play. Everybody had to hold their own. You know what I mean?
And you do.
Right, everybody had to hold their own.
What was your process in finding Lena James? Because she comes in on a particular scholarship. She's lying about that. We meet her father in a really beautiful episode in which we find out you're a writer. So are you using that nervous energy to kind of give Lena this confidence?
Lena is based off of Jada.
Right.
So, Debbie sat there, she listened to my childhood story, and she based the character off of Jada. I did an extreme version of Jada. 4-camera sitcom, you got to catch the rhythm. You got to catch the rhythm of your cast members.
Absolutely.
Versus when you're doing 1-camera drama, that's a different game.
What's also interesting is that I noticed is that you have a bit of a dance background, and so that comes up. Obviously Debbie is going to lean into that.
Yeah.
What I've noticed in watching all of your performances is that you use your whole body when you're performing, and I think a lot of that comes from dance. Would you suggest that actors take dance classes?
Not necessarily, because in theater work, you have to get really in touch with your body. I would have teachers that would study animals and get certain characteristics from animals, certain characteristics even just from people watching. How does your particular character, if your particular character suffers from anxiety, how does that communicate in the body? As you're developing your character, you are figuring out the physicality of your character as well. The energy in your body, how you move with it. Are you stiff? Is she, buttoned up? Is she loose? It's all of that.
You also do a bit of a dance with your braids a lot in some of your performances. Like I noticed it in Menace II Society. I noticed it in Set It Off. I noticed it a little bit in A Different World as well. Kind of like tossing them back or all that kind of stuff.
Hair is always such a communication.
Yes, come on.
I don't have much of it now, but I can still communicate.
But that's the thing. But that's the other thing too. Is we know you as a short-haired maven, but also you do such beautiful things too when you have long hair too. You bring it into the performance.
Yeah.
What was a moment for you when you knew, okay, Lena James is working. It's clicking. People like her.
I can't remember the moment as far as screen time.
Okay.
But I just remember how the older cast was now starting to relate to me.
I get that.
Yeah. So how Jasmine started embracing me, Kadeem, Creed, you know what I
Clearly.
mean? And so that's when I knew, like, I was like, okay.
It's so interesting because
I'm
it
good.
parallels the journey of the character.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? How beautiful we get to move to a movie that sort of permeated me in a way that I watch constantly, still go back to, is Menace to Society. What was that experience like working with the Hughes brothers?
That was different for me. I had never worked with two directors at once.
Right.
It was
Who are
like
brothers.
kind of unheard of.
Yeah. Aren't they
You know what I mean?
twins?
And they're twins. I learned a lot.
Wow.
You
What
know,
did
it
you
really
learn?
expanded my concept of directing. It just opened my mind to the possibility of creativity, like to break the mold.
You're such a heartbeat of that movie. You also play a young mother.
Yeah. I definitely had a lot to pull from. And it felt really good to be able to show a young Black woman in that way.
Right.
You know, a young Black woman who was a responsible parent, a
Yes.
young Black woman who wanted something better for herself and something better for her mate. I've always wanted to show that all the different multifaceted ways in which a Black woman can exist. Because when I came to Hollywood, and even still sometimes today, it's very easy to pigeonhole,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
all of us, not
Yeah.
even just Black people,
Yeah.
just women, men, all of us,
Yeah.
right? But I've always wanted to really express the expansiveness of the soul through film and television and eventually music. But I always had this thing of where I wanted to show the heart, the spirit, and the soul of Black womanhood.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know.
You definitely show such a lion, you know, in terms of the protection of the cub. And
Yeah, it's a theme even in my own life.
Correct,
You know what I
yes.
mean? Like protection,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And then as you get older and you get mature, you start to, your ideas of what protection is starts to mature as well.
Wow. It's interesting. We moved to a lighter fare, if you will. I think this movie is sort of, I like to call it hidden gem. It's something that I saw as a young person because I used to vacation with my family in the vineyard. Inkwell.
Inkwell, yeah.
Lauren is such a departure for you.
Yes, she was.
Preppy girl.
She was the Jack and Jill.
Come
That's
on.
yeah,
Kinda
like
looking
yeah.
down, a bit of a villainess, if you will. How did
She
you
was,
come to her?
Oh, I had met so many. I had met so
Girls
many
like her.
young women like her. You know what I mean?
You play her well.
Sometimes, you know, the Black bourgeoisie
Yeah.
can, you know.
Come on. You're rigid in that one. You don't move
Yeah.
your body a ton. I kind of picked up
Exactly.
on that. In that you are more repressed.
Mm-hmm.
You aren't as free.
Yeah, because she's not herself.
So I'm wondering, is that ponytail and that bikini and that pink blanket, is that kind of helping you find her?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Every hairstyle, every piece of outfit, jewelry, everything for me is an indication of how to bring this character to life.
Okay.
And even like in a character's room, you sit with the set, designer, what have you, like, oh no, I wouldn't have a pink wall. I think I would probably do blue with these kind of magazines. I need Right On magazines and, what have you. And so every single aspect helps to bring the character to life for me. Yeah.
I want to go on to Jason's lyric.
Oh,
If we can.
Jason's lyric.
Jason's
yes.
lyric. You played Lyric, the title character. Such a specific look. Again, talk about hair and wardrobe. The thing that I actually wanted to talk about in that movie in particular was how was it working with Lisa Nicole Carson?
Oh, I love Lisa Nicole Carson.
I mean, she's such a phenomenal actress. I think such an unsung hero of the screen.
Oh,
That energy between the two of you, it is...
you bring tears to my eyes. It makes me miss her. She's so yummy.
Mm-hmm.
She's so yummy. We had such a great time together. We had such a beautiful camaraderie. She's freaking funny. She's got so much heart. she goes in. She's just right there with you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we could just go together. I just enjoyed her so much.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. December is my favorite time to slow down. Something about the cold makes everything feel a little softer. Blankets, tea, and just spending quality time with loved ones. There's nothing like wrapping up on the couch, watching the next episode of your favorite show, or sharing a quiet night with the people you love. But staying cozy and comfortable isn't just about physical comfort. It's about taking care of your mind, too. That's where therapy can really make a difference. It's not just for when things are difficult. It helps with building healthy habits, setting boundaries, and feeling more centered in everyday life. I cannot stress enough how impactful therapy can be for anyone who seeks it out. And if you're thinking about starting, BetterHelp is a great place to begin. It's all online, easy to fit into your schedule, no commutes, no waiting rooms. You just fill out a quick questionnaire and they'll match you with a licensed therapist. If it's not the right fit, you can switch at any time without extra costs. Find comfort this December with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/legacytalk today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/legacytalk.
Here's the deal. There are characters on the screen that shift things, I think. For me, and for a lot of people, one of those characters is Peaches.
Yeah.
A low down, dirty
Dirty
shame, mouthing the words to you, like while you're on the phone, you know, clearly with Kim Wayans, because we've watched it so many times. Well, that's Kim Wayans' voice. As the world turns.
Right.
Talk about hair, talk about nails, talk about clothes, talk about the collaboration, obviously, with Kenan.
Yeah.
It's so interesting because it's sort of a Pam Grier moment for you, but it's done in a way that feels accessible. How much of Peaches was on the page and how much of her did you create?
A lot of Peaches was on the page, and,
Okay.
I'll tell you why. Kenan, he knew
You.
that Jada. Yeah, he knew. That's why also I feel like it's the funniest I've ever been.
Oh.
Because he also knew my comedy. He knows my funny.
Ooh.
So he could capture it. This is a funny Kenan story. So I'm from Baltimore,
We
right? So
know
I'm
this.
thinking I'm all tough and what have you. So when I'm sitting there with Charles Dutton and
Iconic.
he kidnapped me, right? Kenan's like, all right, so the gunshot's gonna go off. Right? So he goes, pow! And I just sit, I'm on the couch, right? I'm like, and I don't move. He's like, Jada, you gotta react to the gunshot. I'm like, that's how I would react.
Wow.
He said, oh, that's how you would react?
Look.
He said, all right, well, let's do it again. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, cool, let's do it again. So he gets out, he shoots a blank.
This
So he goes,
I can't believe this.
action, pow, right? My ass, you see it in the movie, because he did the literal shot. I jumped over that couch.
In that yellow sweatsuit.
Yeah, the yellow and blue sweatsuit. I jumped over that couch so damn fast. Okay? He's
You
like,
are from Baltimore.
exactly. He said, all right, we got it.
Wow.
It was one of my favorite roles to play because I so trusted him in regards to handing over my I was a paintbrush, right? Because he knew how to coach, how to direct me.
Wow.
For the most part, that was on the page, and he really helped to craft that performance.
So he wrote it for you.
He didn't write it for me.
Okay.
I'll tell you, at first, it was Rosie Perez.
Wow.
Rosie Perez was supposed to be that character. Now, I named the character, right? He wrote it for
blowing my mind
Rosie
right now.
in mind, right? There was some scheduling conflict.
Wow.
Yes. Yes, there was a scheduling conflict. So it wasn't written for me.
Wow.
It wasn't written for me. And so Kenan was like, and because listen, since I got to LA, because I met Kenan when I first got to LA, I was like, boy, listen, you need to put me on in Living Color. I need to be a fly girl.
Come on.
And he was like, Jada, basically, get your weight up, right? You know what I'm saying?
Earn it.
Don't come over here asking for nothing, right? He let me use his name so I could get an agent, which was great. Nancy Rayford. And she's a great agent. And I went out and started working and got on A Different World and, started getting all these different gigs.
Yeah.
And so then he was like, okay,
All right.
now I got something for you.
Wow.
Yeah.
And boy, man, you took such a bite out of that apple. You're such a star. You're so funny, obviously beautiful. I'm just so grateful to God that happened because you were the leading lady we didn't know we needed.
Mm.
The thing that I keep noticing about your work, it is cultural shifts.
Yeah.
You were part of these shifts. Nutty Professor was a big deal, going to the movies to see that, packed houses. And you also have another common thread of working with comedians. What was the experience working with Eddie Murphy like?
I just love Eddie.
Clearly.
Yeah, we were friends before Nutty Professor, and that was a very different kind of role.
Come on, wig.
Yeah, that was a very different kind of role. That was one of those moments where I didn't have a lot to say.
Clearly.
Yeah, that was the last time.
It's hard for you to disappear in a performance. And now I'm realizing the hair and makeup in a way almost wants you to not be as visible as you could be next to the star, if you will. It's definitely something we had to talk about because it's such a big film and you're the leading lady in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a good time for me. Eddie is just so gracious. And it was just so, I'm going to tell you, to be able to sit back and watch him, I don't even think we've seen all that Eddie is.
Anything you stole from like watching them? Because sometimes when I'm watching people work, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna take that. That's interesting.
I think one of the things that I watched in regards to Eddie was just his patience. I loved the laid back energy that he had and how generous he was to me. Really making sure that I was good.
I love that.
You know what I mean? And that taught me a lot, that when you are starring in a movie that, yes, you're the star, but you're also there to make sure people are doing good.
Yeah, that's right. It's beautiful. I love that.
Yeah.
You cannot go further to the other end of the spectrum when we talk about this next film. It's a movie that had a great impact on me and my career. We'll just set it off. There's no Queen and Slim without Set It Off.
Right.
And I remember seeing it at the movie theater. And I always say this, when we walked out of that theater, we were different. That's how powerful that is. I want to talk about sexuality on film because you have 2 sex scenes in the film.
Yep.
One of which is still devastating to watch.
Yeah.
And there's a contrast. There's another scene with you and Blair Underwood.
Yeah.
Where it's really stunning to watch. What was that like for you navigating that at the time, at the 90s, where there weren't intimacy coordinators? I don't know how much of a say or agency you have in terms of whether or not you want to be nude on screen.
Oh, yeah, you have. That was always the case for me, that no nudity. No nudity. You're right. It was a very different time. But luckily enough, all of the men that, ever engaged with in that way were so respectful and so, took such good care of me.
That's amazing.
And even the directors did as much as they could, to have as much privacy that they knew to have at that time, you know what I mean? Making sure that only the necessary people were on the set. Right. And, I remember the scene that I had to do to get money for my brother's college being so difficult.
Yeah, I'm sure.
When you're on set, sometimes for me, separating the character from, you know what I mean? Like you're in the character. So being in the character, in that act, in that way, it was just like, oh, this is real, and that there are people out there who, this is sometimes what's done to be able to get shit done.
Yeah. What is it like every day on set in terms of you, with these other actresses, obviously, who are
Awesome.
amazing.
Yeah.
But also playing some heavy stuff, losing a brother, having to exchange sex for money,
Yeah.
having to rob banks, having to hold guns. How much are you going through every single day?
It wasn't the easiest to shoot,
Right.
but I'm glad that I had the group of people that I had to shoot it with. You know what I mean? Because we were locked in.
I can tell. We can tell.
Yeah, we were locked. There was a lot going on in my life at that time, too.
Was that coming into work with you at all? Were you using that for the character?
Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You might as well. You know what I mean? It's like my emotional toolbox is what I call it, to pull from.
How did you guys form such chemistry, the four women? Because it jumps off the screen, and I'm just curious what work you guys were doing to make sure you would have that tight bond.
We had a lot of rehearsals together.
Wow.
We were all just so happy to be there together.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
I mean, think about it at that time.
I mean,
4 Black women that get to, star in an action movie together.
come on.
I mean, right?
Ugh.
And young Black women, we were like, and at that particular time, Black Hollywood was just popping.
F. Gary Gray, young director.
Yeah, it was his first. We worked really hard together to make that movie what it was, including Gary, who at
That's
that
his
time.
cameo,
Yeah,
too, but-
exactly. Including Gary.
Watch this motherfucker or something.
Yeah, Gary worked hard. He worked so hard. We kind of knew we had something special going.
You could feel it.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. This morning, I sat with Bamboozled. 24 years ago, that one.
Yeah.
So
Relevant.
so relevant, so revelatory.
Yep.
It's satirical, but it's also cinema verite.
Yeah.
Sloane is such a phenomenal character.
Mm-hmm.
She's almost this mouse in the background that you kind of don't see. Were you intimidated at all by the idea of working with Spike Lee?
No.
You were ready.
I was ready to work with Spike. We had tried, there were a couple other projects that just, weren't right. And then Bamboozled came up. And Spike was, talk about one of the most collaborative
Wow.
directors I've ever worked with.
Wow.
And the trust that Spike has and the actors that he works with.
Right.
He has a lot of trust. And I was really happy to be able to work with him on that particular project. I felt like it was so bold. And I love being a part of hell-raising shit. That's just
Clearly.
that's just who I am, right?
Clearly. It's a stunning piece of work and it's a stunning
Yeah.
performance.
I think it was at the time a lot for people to have, but I think it's one of his pieces that is really overlooked. And it's one of my favorites of his.
To me, it was giving, I was like, oh, this is his network. But network is revered because of what it's saying.
Mm-hmm.
And Bamboozled was buried because of what it is saying.
Yes, exactly. But it's one of my proudest projects. To be a part, not necessarily because of my work in it,
Your work is really stunning in it.
but because of the boldness of its commentary.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
It's saying
I-
so much.
It's one of my favorites. Yeah.
It's saying so much. Now we're going to move into sci-fi land.
Oh, okay.
Matrix Reloaded.
Matrix, yep.
I know that's your shit. My question to you is, did it live up to the fantasy?
Yes.
How so?
The amount of training. First of all, it was just like I feel like I became like a kung fu movie martial art specialist, right? On that movie. Being a part of such a big revolutionary idea and movie, because I knew about Matrix when they wanted Will to play Neo. Like,
Oh, well, that's right. You talk about that.
Yes.
Yo ass classic. You're like, yo, this gonna
Right.
go. You be knowing.
listen, I was like, this is out of here,
be
right?
knowing.
So, at that time, Will, moved on to something else, and they
Slept.
got
Right.
Keanu,
Mhm,
right?
yeah.
And so Keanu,
Black woman trying to save a black man from
became-
himself, but what we gonna do? Okay.
Keanu
Money
became
lost.
Neo, and then they brought me in as a possibility for Trinity. So I was in love with the freaking
Jesus Christ.
movie from day one.
Jesus.
And from the vision of who at that time were the Wachowski brothers, right? And so then when I had the opportunity to come and they were like, we wrote Niobe for you.
Not unlike what happened with A Different World.
Right. And I was like, I'm in.
Let's go.
Let's go.
It's my time.
Yeah.
You've worked with so many phenomenal directors. Added to that list is Michael Mann. Talk about Collateral. Collateral. A very quiet but stirring movie. What was that experience like for you working with Michael Mann?
He is probably the only director that I surrendered it all to.
Wow.
He picked the clothes, the hair, the shoes, the everything, right? Showed me how to study, wanted specific, would set up different meetings for me to have with different people.
Wow.
To get to know this character.
Wow.
And he's phenomenal at character development.
Clearly.
I learned so much from him. It was like he put me back into theater school in regards to like my Uta Hagen training, how specific. I felt like he got me like back on my game that had gotten lazy.
Ooh.
You know what I mean? Every single detail, every moment, every flinch, the pen I'm writing with, the paper I'm writing on, like every single detail. Phenomenal. Like he's one of those directors, hands down, trust completely.
We're gonna go to another end of the spectrum. That's the other cool thing about, watching your work and how you're just all over the map.
Yeah.
Speaking of the map, let's go to Madagascar.
Okay, yes.
I think voiceover work is so unique.
And difficult.
Yeah.
It's not easy for me. I think it's easy for others, but it's not easy for me.
How do you change your approach when you're walking in to a studio and we aren't going to see you, but everything is dependent on your voice? So how do you prepare for that, and what are you thinking about as you approach that character?
I couldn't prepare for that. I had to learn it as I went. I had no idea.
Right.
I just didn't. I remember when Jeffrey Katzenberg. I love Jeffrey.
So much.
Yes,
He's
so gangster. Jeffrey Katzenberg called me. He said, "Jada, I have this role. I really want you for it." I think he thought I was going to be offended because he had me playing a hippo, right? And I'm like, Jeffrey, I love the fact that she's like that. This gives me an opportunity.
Right.
It's actually easier for me to do that than to play a character that's like a human or just like, you know what I mean? And so it really gave me an opportunity to be able to be a lot more playful and a lot more free, because I really didn't understand that world yet.
Right.
So I had to really learn it. I didn't understand it.
What did you have to learn?
I had to learn, like, first trust, because you're not there with any other actors.
I know.
You know.
I know, yeah.
You're not there with any other actors. You don't see a set. There's no clothes.
No.
Like, you are literally...
On your own.
You're on your own. I'm not used to working like that.
Wow.
I'm not used to working like that.
Wow.
And then only having my voice as a tool?
You have such a great voice.
Thank you.
You speak from your diaphragm. Of course,
It's
like
you.
a
You
hippo.
speak from your diaphragm.
You do. Speak from your diaphragm. The thing is, like, Katzenberg is smart because, yes, it's this big character, literally.
Right.
And you are, like, this small person that is, like, you can't ignore. You know what I'm saying? This booming voice you have.
Right.
This is last but not least. When Girls Trip came along, you kind of had taken a break from the screen, it seemed like. We haven't seen you in a bit. And another foursome, four ladies.
Foursome.
You know what I'm saying?
It's the four. It's
Reunited with Dana.
Yes. It's all about the four.
And again, I remember being in the movie theater, packed houses.
Yep.
What was it like to go back, to be a part of a foursome again, to be back on set every day? Had you missed it? How did it feel to be on that set and back at it?
I hadn't missed it. You know? I
appreciate
missed
that.
it.
You're like, I'm waking up early.
Yeah, I hadn't missed it.
Okay.
But I definitely enjoyed it.
Okay.
I definitely enjoyed
What
it.
did you enjoy most? The camaraderie?
I enjoyed the camaraderie. I enjoyed like spontaneity,
Yeah.
you know,
Oh, yeah.
within the scenes.
Uh-huh.
Everybody was just game. Just such a talented group of women.
Absolutely.
It was really an amazing, and none of us at the time knew Tiffany. Who knew? You know what I
Come on.
mean? And Regina's so freaking witty, and
She's
she's
the best.
so like
Obsessed.
her timing, her comedic understanding.
Kind of unsung, I think, still, too.
She's really unsung.
People don't
Like
realize.
we haven't seen Regina yet. All
No.
that she can do. Like I got to really see how talented she is, and of course Queen. Like
Yes.
you know,
Come on. Y'all back at
Queen
it.
is Queen just is, right? To see how well we all worked together, how much we supported each other, how open we were to taking notes from each other. You know,
Yeah.
Regina would be like, yo, try this. There was just such a beautiful sisterhood of working together to make the movie be what it became. And,
Yeah.
you know, we all worked hard. And of course, Malcolm
Yes.
Lee is
Come
just,
on,
you know,
Malcolm.
he's such a
The Lee
sweetie.
family.
He really also had a lot of trust in us and allowed us to really go for it.
He knows something about a starry cast and how to
Yeah,
make it
he
work.
does.
You know?
He does. And so it was really a beautiful partnership between the five of us for sure.
Who are some actresses that you not necessarily modeled your performances after or how you showed up on screen, but because you're such an important part of my tapestry, I'm curious who were some of the people you looked at. They don't
That
just
were
have to
part
be
of my
women.
tapestry,
Yeah,
right?
like how did you kind of find?
Well, the core, the major blueprint for me
Uh-huh.
was Debbie Allen. Debbie was the blueprint. She could dance, she
Yep.
could act, she could sing, she could direct, she could choreograph. She didn't allow the industry to say, no, you're only allowed to do this and you're only allowed to do this way. It's like, not only did I appreciate her talent, but I appreciated her fight, right? And then I got to see it firsthand. She represented it all. And then there were a couple performances. I'll never forget watching Denzel perform in Glory.
Phenomenal.
I'll never forget him performing in Glory. And I was in college.
Wow.
And that moment that I decided I was not returning to college.
Wow. That's so interesting that you bring that up about a specific moment in your life and you're watching something that kind of shifts you.
Yeah.
I think about Quincy Jones sitting at a piano for the first time.
Mhm.
And I also think about Oprah Winfrey talking about watching Sidney Poitier win the
Academy Award. Yeah.
I think for me, it was the moment watching A Different World and you stepping onto the screen.
Wow. That really does touches my heart.
I'm gonna touch your heart again because you sort of took the role of Debbie Allen, I think, in my life when you read The Shy.
Yeah.
And I got a call that you wanted me to come to the house.
Yeah.
And I did. That was the first time we met.
Yeah.
And we embraced and we walked around the property.
Yeah.
And you talked to me about the show. This is like not news, but I will happily put it here on record that the name Jada is in The Shy for you.
Right.
Because that is how much you mean to me, how important you are and have been in my life. Me not thinking about that
Right.
when putting that there. It's rather just sort of a nod, a thank you. And for you to read it and like it and to have me come, and for you as a person who understands the culture shifting,
Yeah.
it was as if you were saying to me, this piece that you wrote could possibly shift culture.
Yeah.
And we're filming right now, season 7.
Yep.
So, you know, to me, you really are God winking at us in a way. And so I'm grateful to you for being that wink in human form and letting me know, like, all the girls out there who are a little bit tougher,
Yeah.
not because we want to be, but because we have
Had
to be.
Yep.
But still beautiful, still soft, still
Mhm.
vulnerable,
Yep.
still desirable.
Yeah.
I'm just grateful to you so much for being a mirror and for being a beacon of light I love you. I appreciate you. And I'm happy that we have this conversation on record
Yeah.
so it can forever live, so people can know that we existed.
That part.
Thanks.
Thank you for your love. Thank you for your appreciation. Thank you for seeing me and seeing you and me and you. Thank you.
That's a cut.
Legacy, oh legacy.